Hey folks, Nick here from Another BookTube channel, and today I'll be reviewing The Talented Mr. Ripley by Patricia Highsmith. I read Strangers on a Train by Patricia Highsmith earlier this year, I think, and I was a little disappointed in it. I thought it was good, but a lot of it kind of bored me a little bit, didn't always hold my attention. But I picked up this book nonetheless because I've heard such great things about it. I remember seeing the movie a long, long time ago. Didn't really remember anything that happened in it, but I do remember it being good. So I thought I'd give it a shot anyway. And I'm just really glad that I did end up reading it because I kind of loved it. This was a really fun, just total vibe of a read. It was actually the perfect read for the time of year it is. It ended up being the perfect summer book, totally accidentally for me. Let me talk a little bit about what it is and why. So, The Talented Mr. Ripley is about Tom Ripley. He's introduced as a small-time con man who is kind of looking over his shoulder in some trouble, and he doesn't know how he's going to get out of it. And his next big con basically just falls into his lap. This guy, Mr. Greenleaf, approaches him at a bar, recognizes him as someone that he saw hanging out with his son, Dickie Greenleaf, months or years prior, I forget. And the father tells Tom, Dickie is over in Italy right now, in Mangiabello, and he refuses to come home. Me and his mother really want him to come home, but we can't convince him to. His mother's very sick. She wants to see him, but he just keeps brushing us off. You're his friend. Could you maybe go to Italy on an all-expenses-paid trip? I will fund it. Go to Italy and try to convince Dickie to please come home. He'll listen to you because he knows you so well. And Tom Ripley is I barely know this guy. We hung out a little bit. But yeah, absolutely. I will do this. This is a great idea. A great way for me to get out of the country while things cool down over here. And so this is the story of him going to Italy, meeting up with Dickie, and I don't know if I want to say much more than that. They strike up a friendship, and Tom is, I would say, way more into it than Dickie is. I don't know that it's outright, but there's definitely undertones of possible homosexuality in this book, particularly about Tom's character and him repressing it and not quite embracing it. But regardless, he very much is taken with Dickie and will go to extreme lengths to make sure that not only he can maintain that friendship, but also maintain this new lifestyle he's experiencing of leisure. And that's how I would describe Tom Ripley. He is a criminal of leisure rather than a gentleman of leisure. Being broke is not for him. Couldn't be him. He's just integrated his way into these wealthy people's lives. These people who are just kind of lackadaisical and decadent. Dickie Greenleaf isn't a bad guy. He's just indifferent. He's there to hang out on the beach. He's got his little palazzo that he likes to. That he just bought a new refrigerator for. It's the only refrigerator in the town. This is 1955, by the way, or something like that. So just that type of lifestyle that Tom falls in love with, and really more than anything, more than Dickie, that's what he wants, and that's what he latches onto, and that's what he refuses to let be taken from him. And the book is told completely from Tom's point of view. So, and he is a psychopath or a sociopath at least, because just the reasoning that he has, the justifications he gives himself, and just the way that he views situations that arise. He's always constantly analyzing little body language and things like that to determine what did that person mean by that? Are they on to me? Do they not like me? What is this? So he's constantly second guessing himself, second guessing what others are doing, and we never get the relief of being outside of his brain which keeps the suspense really high because he's so paranoid about getting caught as being a con man, and there's just no respite from that. And he could get caught at any moment. Um, I do want to talk briefly about spoilers. So if you are not familiar with this story or how it ends, you can skip ahead to this timestamp. But spoilers is that Tom gets away with everything that he does at the end of this book. And that's so like surprising and refreshing to me because, like I said, this book was written in the 50s, and I come from a background of film. And the Hollywood production code, which was instituted in the 30s and ran up until about the late 60s, if I'm remembering correctly, precluded all Hollywood movies from being able to end with the bad guy getting away with it, basically. A number of other things, like, couldn't show sex, couldn't show this, couldn't show that. But the main thing was that if a character commits a crime on screen or even implied, they have to get caught at the end. They need to get their comeuppance. Justice needs to prevail. So whenever I'm experiencing a story that was written in the 50s, I have the Hollywood production code in my head. So I'm reading this thinking, he can't get away with it, right? Like, because that's just what it was. But no, in the book, they didn't. That code didn't apply to books. So a lot of stuff Patricia Highsmith writes about in here wouldn't be able to make its way into a movie. That homoeroticism in the subtext also would maybe have to be cut out, depending on how subtle they make it. So yeah, I thought that was just pretty cool. Like I liked having the story end that way. And I mentioned this was a surprisingly good summer book. It totally was, because I mean, they're just spending all of their time in these exotic lands. Exotic to me. I'm in New York. So the beaches of Italy. They're going to Greece. They're going to Paris and Rome and and Cannes and just all these different places. And they're just relaxing all the time, and they're hanging out. They're staying out late at night. Like, it's got the perfect summer vibe to it. It's just that it's also the story of a total psychopath. And it was just great. It was just really, really neat. I love the mood of it. I thought Tom Ripley was a really fun character to spend time with, to spend time in his head. I mean, I don't condone any of his actions, but it was fun watching him just like try to get away with stuff. Just a really fun story. I think this redeemed Patricia Highsmith for me, made me interested in reading more of her work. I know that there are more Ripley novels. Maybe I'll read, another one or two of those. Who knows? But my arbitrary and subjective grade for The Talented Mr. Ripley by Patricia Highsmith is 8.5 out of 10. How about that? That sounds good. But even honestly, with that grade, again, it's so arbitrary. I might end up liking this and remembering this more than other 9 out of 10 books that I've read this year. It's all meaningless. But do with that what you will. Let me know your thoughts on The Talented Mr. Ripley in the comments below. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today. But now, it's time to get back to reading.